howdy, hey, welcome back to All About That Disney Life. I am Danny B, the girl who is all about that Disney life. The next movie we will be talking about is Beauty and the Beast that came out in 1991. You don't know how excited I am that we are finally in the 90s. This is my generation of Disney movies that I'm going to be so excited to be talking about for many weeks to come, like the 90s and the early 2000s. That's my generation for Disney movies. But we're talking about Beauty and the Beast, so let's get to know the cast of this movie. Paige O'Hara was Belle. Robbie Benson was the Beast. Richard White was Gaston. Jerry Orbach was Lumiere. David Ogden Stiers was Cogsworth. Angela Lansbury was Mrs. Potts. Bradley Pierce was Chip. Rex Everhart was Maurice. Jesse Corti was LeFou. Joanne Worley was the wardrobe. Hal Smith was Philippe. Mary Kay Bergman and Kath Soucie were the Bimbettes. Jack Angel was Tom. Phil Proctor was Dick. Bill Farmer was Stanley. Patrick Peeney was Gramps. Brian Cummings was the stove. Alvin Epstein was the bookseller. Tony J was Monsieur Deoc. Alec Murphy was the baker. Kimmy Robertson was the feather duster, and Frank Welker was Sultan, the footstool, who's also a dog. Anyways, let's get down to the facts all about the Beauty and her Beast. Number 1, an early version. After Snow White was a success, Walt Disney looked for other stories to turn into animated movies, and Beauty and the Beast was one of them. There were attempts made in the 1930s and the 1950s, but it didn't happen because it was a challenge for the story team at the time. Also, Jean Cocteau made a movie version in 1946. Years later, during the production of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the Disney studio brought back the idea of Beauty and the Beast as a project for the Satellite Animation Studio. Beauty and the Beast was the first Disney animated movie to use a screenwriter. That was weird for an animated movie because the story is developed on storyboards rather than in a script form. Linda Wolverton wrote the original draft of the story before storyboarding began and worked with the story team to reshape and develop the movie. Number 2, a script rewrite. When the chairman saw the initial storyboard reels in 1989, he ordered that the movie be scrapped and started over from scratch. Since the original story had only 2 major characters, the filmmakers enhanced them, added new characters in the form of enchanted household items who added warmth and comedy to a gloomy story, and guide the audience through the movie, and added a real villain in the form of Gaston. These ideas were kind of similar to the elements of the 1946 French movie version of Beauty and the Beast. It introduced the character of Avion, an oafish suitor kind of similar to Gaston, as well as inanimate objects coming to life in the Beast's castle. The animated objects were given distinct personalities in the Disney movie. Number 3, the release. Beauty and the Beast premiered as an unfinished movie at the New York Film Festival on September 29, 1991. It was released as a completed movie at the EI Captain Theater on November 13, 1991. Number 4, the box office. During its initial run, it made $9.6 million in its opening weekend. It ranked 3rd place behind The Addams Family and Cape Fear. During its initial release, it made $145.9 million in revenues in North America and $331.9 million worldwide. It ranked as the 3rd most successful movie of 1991 in North America. It surpassed only by the summer blockbusters Terminator 2, Judgment Day, and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. It was the most successful animated Disney movie release at the time, and it was the first animated movie to reach $100 million in the United States and Canada in its initial run. During its IMAX re-release in 2002, it made $25.5 million in North America and $5.5 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $31 million. Number 5, awards. Like with Little Mermaid, we're going to just do what Beauty and the Beast has won because this list was kind of long. We'll start off at the Academy Awards. Beauty and the Beast won for Best Original Score. It also won for Best Original Song, Beauty and the Beast. Next up, the Annie Awards. Beauty and the Beast won for Best Animated Feature, and it won Outstanding Individual Achievement in the field of animation. Next up, the Dallas-Fort Worth Film Critics Association Awards. Beauty and the Beast took 3rd place for Best Film, and it won Best Animated Film. Next up, the Golden Globes. Beauty and the Beast won for Best Motion Picture for a musical or comedy. It won Best Original Score for a Motion Picture, and it won for Best Original Song for a Motion Picture, Beauty and the Beast. It also won Best Pop Performance by a Duo or a Group with Vocals, and the song was Beauty and the Beast. It won Best Pop Instrumental Performance, and the song again was Beauty and the Beast. It won Best Album for Children. It won Best Instrumental Composition written for a motion picture or for television. And it won for Best Song specifically for a motion picture or for television, and that song was Beauty and the Beast. Next up, the Kansas City Film Critics Circle Awards. It won for Best Animated Film. Next up, the Los Angeles Film Critics Association Awards. Beauty and the Beast won for Best Animated Film. Next up, the National Board of Review Awards. Beauty and the Beast won a special award for animation. Next up, the Online Film and Television Association Awards. Beauty and the Beast has been inducted in the Hall of Fame for Motion Picture. The song Beauty and the Beast has also been inducted in the Hall of Fame for Songs. And lastly, the Young Artist Awards. Beauty and the Beast won for Outstanding Family Entertainment of the Year. Number 6, the Broadway musical. The idea came from an article by the New York Times theater critic Frank Rich that praised Beauty and the Beast as 1991's best musical. Theater Under the Stars executive director Frank Young had been trying to get Disney interested in a stage version of Beauty and the Beast, but Young couldn't get in touch with the right people at Disney. Nothing happened until Disney executives started to pursue the project at their end. They asked George Ives which Los Angeles theater would be the best venue for launching a new musical, and he replied the best one would be Theater Under the Stars. The musical had its premiere in a joint production of Theater Under the Stars and Disney Theatricals at the Music Hall in Houston, Texas from November 28, 1993 until December 26, 1993. On April 18, 1994, Beauty and the Beast had its Broadway debut at the Palace Theater in New York City. The show moved to the Lunt-Fontanne Theater on November 11, 1999. The success of the show led to productions in the West End, Toronto, and all over the world. The Broadway version received a Tony Award and became the first Disney stage production. The show ended its Broadway run on July 29, 2007 after 46 previews and 5,461 performances. It is Broadway's 10th longest running show in Broadway history. Number 7, the live stage show. It's a Broadway-style musical at Hollywood Studios at Disney World. There used to be a pre-show. There was a male a cappella group called Four for a Dollar, and they performed the pre-show singing stuff like classic pop, rock and roll, and Disney songs. They would perform for 20 minutes before the show started. For their final song, they would dedicate a Disney song to a lucky person in the audience for a special occasion. The pre-show was not needed anymore because the show usually starts at their scheduled time. The show summary. It resembles the 1991 movie. Because the show is about 25 minutes, many cuts and edits are made. The show opens like a Broadway musical. During the curtain call, Belle and the Prince give a lucky person in the audience a rose. There was an original version to the live show, which ran from 1991 until 2001. It opened for the movie's 1991 premiere, and it debuted at the park on November 22nd, 1991. The songs that were used were Be Our Guest, Belle, Gaston, Something There, The Mob Song, and Beauty and the Beast. The current version now, it debuted in March of 2001. It features the songs much nearer to the order which they are presented in the movie. It is currently the longest running stage show at a Walt Disney World theme park. The songs featured are the prologue, When You See the Enchantress, Belle Gaston, the reprise of Belle, the song, Be Our Guest, Something There, the Mob Song, and Beauty and the Beast. The show exit music after the final curtain is dropped features the pop version of Beauty and the Beast performed by Celine Dion and Peabo Bryson. Number 8, The Ride. It is called The Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast. It's at Tokyo Disneyland. It was supposed to open on April 15th, 2020, but because of COVID, it opened on September 21st, 2020. There was supposed to be an audio animatronic show based on the movie. And it was also going to be open at Disneyland Paris in the early to mid-90s. In its Fantasyland section, it was going to be similar to the Enchanted Tiki Room, but when Disneyland Paris began to experience financial problems, the plans were dropped and replaced with cheaper additions like Le Pied de Conte, de Fée, Beast Castle, and the Village, which would provide a larger capacity at a cheaper price. Number 9, the attraction. There was Storytime with Belle. It was a live interactive show that was located in Fantasyland at Magic Kingdom. It was a 20-minute show that took place in the secluded fairy tale garden tucked behind and to the right of Cinderella Castle. Several times a day, Belle would tell the children her story. When the story was underway and Belle was choosing a Gaston, Beast, and Maurice from the audience, Belle's helpers would lead a group of girls up on the stage and begin dressing them as Lumiere, Cogsworth, Chip, and Mrs. Potts. Under the guidance of Belle's helper, the children were able to dance with Belle and the Beast and follow a few other simple stage directions. The show had its final performance on September 12, 2010. It was then replaced with Enchanted Tales with Belle. It's a live interactive show located in Fantasyland at Magic Kingdom. It opened for previews on November 19, 2012, before officially opening on December 6, 2012. For its pre-show, guests enter the main room of Maurice's cottage. From there, they are admitted to Maurice's workshop in smaller groups of about 45 people. The magic mirror that transforms before the guests' eyes into a portal leading them to the Beast's castle. Guests then enter a room where wardrobe interacts with the group. Cast members explain that the guests will surprise Belle with a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. Volunteers are assigned parts and handed props, and then everyone goes to the library of the Beast's castle. Lumiere is in the library, who helps direct the group to their places in the library. Then you have the show. Cast members help the guest actors deliver their lines. It ends with participants having their pictures taken with Belle before she leads the actors around the room to the song Be Our Guest. Each participant receives a special bookmark. There's also a version of Enchanted Tales with Belle at Shanghai Disneyland. It's called Bai Ling Storytime. One troupe of players tells a story with puppets that premiered in Festival Forest. The storytellers combine Western and Chinese theatrical humor as well as good messages for parents to share with their children, but the story is told and sung completely in Mandarin. Number 10, merchandise. There are storybooks of the movie's story. There are comic books based on the movie published by Disney Comics. There's toys. There's children's costumes. Belle has been integrated into the Disney Princess line of Disney's consumer products division and appears on merchandise related to that franchise. In 1995, a live-action children's series called Sing Me a Story with Belle began running in syndication, remaining on the air through 1999. Disney on Ice produced an ice version of the movie that opened in 1992 in Lakeland, Florida. It was such a huge success that a TV special was made when it toured Spain in 1994. The show ended its run in 2006 after 14 years. Number 11, where can we find the characters? Well, sit back and relax. We got another list. Here we go. We'll start off with Belle at Disneyland. At Disneyland, Belle can be spotted on a float in Mickey's Sensational Parade. At the Fantasy Fair, Belle tells her tale with help from Lumiere, Mr. Smythe, and Mr. Jones in the Royal Theater. Belle appears in the original version of World of Color in Disney California Adventure. She appears in the opening during the theme of the show shown ball dancing with the Beast. She later appears starting the show's finale as she confesses her love for Beast and he transforms into a handsome prince. Belle is also prominently featured in Paint the Night Parade as part of princess-themed float alongside Cinderella and Rapunzel. Belle also frequently appears for meet and greets both in her blue and gold dresses. Most recently, though, the blue dress has been the only one seen due to the gold dress causing back issues to cast members. At Walt Disney World, she could be seen making daily appearances in the first float of the Festival of Fantasy Parade. Belle has her own spell card in the attraction Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom known as Belle's Mountain Blizzard. In Beauty and the Beast, live on stage at Disney's Hollywood Studios, Belle appears and plays out her same role as in the movie. In the park, Belle can also be found in Fantasmic during the princess-themed melody. For meet and greets, she has made appearances with Gaston in Magic Kingdom's new Fantasyland and alone at Epcot's World Showcase around the France Pavilion. Most of the time, she's seen in her blue peasant dress. However, during Epcot's Festival of the Holidays, she'll wear her red and gold dress from the Enchanted Christmas movie. At Tokyo Disney Resort, Belle is featured towards the end of Once Upon a Time, where she and the Beast share a dance before the latter is attacked by Gaston. After Gaston's death, Belle is present to witness the Beast's transformation into a human. Belle and the Beast also appear as a centerpiece for the Beauty and the Beast unit of Tokyo Disneyland Electrical Parade Dream Lights. At Disneyland Paris at the Walt Disney Studios Park, Belle appears in Mickey and the Magician, sharing a ballroom waltz with the Beast during Lumiere's segment of the show. At Hong Kong Disneyland, Belle is featured in the Flights of Fantasy parade along with the other princesses on the Swan airboat called Romance Takes Swing. She has also featured in the Paint the Night parade as part of a Beauty and the Beast themed float. At Shanghai Disneyland, Belle is featured on the Beauty and the Beast display in A Voyage to the Crystal Grotto. A statue depicting Belle and the Beast can also be found in the Shanghai Disneyland Hotel. On the Disney Cruise Line in Believe aboard the Disney Dream, Belle appears alongside Mrs. Potts in Lumiere segment of the show. Next character is Gaston. We'll start off at Walt Disney World. Since 2012, Gaston has become a common and very popular character within the Walt Disney World Resort. He appears in the live stage show Beauty and the Beast Live at Disney Hollywood Studios. During Halloween, he is part of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party at the Magic Kingdom. He is also seen walking around in the parks, such as walking down the International Gateway. Gaston has his own restaurant called Gaston's Tavern in the Beauty and the Beast section of Magic Kingdom's Fantasyland. He can be found there for meet and greets daily, but before 2015, he was the only character present there. The Bimbettes can now be met along with him. Before then, Gaston's park appearances were mostly confined to parades, shows, and special events. At Tokyo Disneyland, Gaston plays a notable part in the nighttime castle show Once Upon a Time, where he engages in a battle against the Beast during the show's climax, eventually falling to his death. At Disneyland Paris, Gaston can be found for meet and greets in Fantasyland. He also appears in several shows, specifically during Halloween time. At Hong Kong Disneyland, Gaston briefly appears at the end of Villains Night Out as one of the villains that were invited by Maleficent. Gaston appears in Let's Get Wicked alongside Ursula, Mother Gothel, Cruella de Vil, and Dr. Facilier. Next character is the Beast. In California, the Beast can be seen throughout the original version of World of Color. For meet and greets, he can sometimes be found at the Disneyland Hotel. At Walt Disney World, the Beast can be seen alongside Belle during the Festival of Fantasy Parade at Magic Kingdom. In Disney's Hollywood Studios, he can be spotted during Fantasmic and stars in the Beauty and the Beast live show. For meet and greets, the Beast is usually found at the Be Our Guest restaurant at dinner time and during special events, but occasionally appears at the French Pavilion in Epcot. At Tokyo Disney Resort, the Beast is prominently featured during the Once Upon a Time Castle show at Tokyo Disneyland. He also appears nightly in the Beauty and the Beast unit of Tokyo Disneyland Electrical Parade Dreamlights. At Disneyland Paris, he dances with Belle and other princes and princesses at the starlit Princess Waltz. In the Walt Disney Studios Park during Lumiere's segment of Mickey and the Magician, Beast and Belle are introduced after the Candelabros performance of Be Our Guest, where they share a ballroom dance to Beauty and the Beast. At Hong Kong Disneyland, the Beast appears in the Golden Mickeys. He also makes a brief appearance during the finale of Mickey and the Wondrous Book. At Shanghai Disneyland, the Beast is featured on the Beauty and the Beast display in Voyage to the Crystal Grotto. There is also a statue inside the Shanghai Disneyland Hotel depicting Beast and Belle ballroom dancing. Next character, Lumiere. At Disneyland, as part of the World of Color pre-show Carnival of Color, Lumiere is a large puppet and makes an appearance on the blue carpet at Disney California Adventure. The puppet, along with the Tigger and Genie puppets, was later reused in the Paint the Night. At Walt Disney World, Lumiere is in the Beauty and the Beast live show at Disney's Hollywood Studios and is occasionally there for backstage meet and greets. He also makes special meet and greet appearances in Disneyland Paris on occasion. Lumiere also has a spell card in the attraction Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom known as Lumiere's Candle Blast. In Mickey's Filler Magic, Lumiere is the first Disney character Donald encounters on his journey. During their meeting, Lumiere sings Be Our Guest while Donald tries to retrieve Mickey's sorcerer hat. At Tokyo Disneyland, Lumiere appears during the Beauty and the Beast segment of Once Upon a Time. In the Beauty and the Beast unit of Tokyo Disneyland Electrical Parade Dreamlight, an animatronic Lumiere appears just before Belle and Beast's float. At the Tokyo Disneyland Hotel, Lumiere's likeness is prominently featured on the wallpaper and portraits in the Beauty and the Beast room. Lumiere appears in Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast at Tokyo Disneyland with animatronics of his candle and human forms. At Disneyland Paris, in the Spectacular Disney Dreams, Lumiere performs Be Our Guest as part of Peter Pan's Magic. A puppet version of Lumiere also appears in Mickey and the Magician, where he again performs Be Our Guest and introduces Belle and Beast segment of the show shortly thereafter. At Shanghai Disneyland, Lumiere appears as part of Belle and Beast's display in Voyage to the Crystal Grotto, as well as Belle's wall carving inside the Enchanted Storybook Castle. In Lumiere's kitchen at the Shanghai Disney Hotel, a portrait of Lumiere and Cogsworth is featured, which transitions to portray the duo in both their human and cursed forms. On the Disney Cruise Line, on board the Disney Dream cruise ship in the show Believe, Lumiere is the last magic maker to help Dr. Greenway's imagination develop. He's also accompanied by Mrs. Potts and Belle. Next character is Cogsworth. At Disneyland in the Fantasyland Theater, he is telling the Beauty and the Beast story. Cogsworth is theatrically represented by one of the hosts. At Walt Disney World, he is generally unavailable for meet and greet sessions, but has made exclusive appearances during private events at the Be Our Guest restaurant, after showings at the Beauty and the Beast stage show at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Cogsworth has his own topiary in Epcot during the Flower and Garden Festival in the springtime. He also appears in Beauty and the Beast live on stage, where he plays a role similar to the movie, being very upset over having someone in the castle, though he nearly had a change of heart when realizing the girl Belle has the ability to break the spell. At Tokyo Disneyland, Cogsworth makes a brief appearance in the Beauty and the Beast segment of Once Upon a Time at Tokyo Disneyland. At the Tokyo Disneyland Hotel, Cogsworth's likeness is prominently featured on the wallpaper and portraits in the Beauty and the Beast room. At Shanghai Disneyland, Cogsworth appears as part of Belle and Beast's display and voyage to the Crystal Grotto, as well as Belle's wall carving inside of Enchanted Storybook Castle. In Lumiere's kitchen at the Shanghai Disney Hotel, a portrait of Cogsworth and Lumiere is featured, which transitions to portray the duo in both their human and cursed forms. On the Disney Cruise Line, animatronic Cogsworth also appears in the show Disney Dreams aboard the Disney Wonder. Next character is LeFou. At Magic Kingdom's Gaston's Tavern, a drink is known as LeFou's Brew, serves as the restaurant's signature drink, with Gaston occasionally explaining that LeFou is in the tavern making the drink. In addition, outside the tavern itself stands a fountain displaying the moderately iconic statue of both Gaston and LeFou. LeFou is the star of Epcot's Beauty and the Beast sing-along at the France Pavilion, which takes the form of an abridged The Lion King 1.5 style retelling of the film as the true hero that brings Belle and the Beast together. The film features newly animated scenes of LeFou taking part in various moments from Beauty and the Beast, particularly musical numbers like Be Our Guest and the song Beauty and the Beast. At Hong Kong Disneyland in 2019, LeFou made his theme park debut as one of the villains in Let's Get Wicked alongside Gaston. On the Disney Cruise Line, while not actually appearing in the show itself, LeFou was mentioned by Hades in the show Villains Tonight. Next character is Chip. At Disneyland, Chip can be spotted in Tarzan's treehouse in Disneyland. At Magic Kingdom, Chip's likeness can be seen on the sign of Mrs. Potts' cupboard ice cream. Also in Magic Kingdom, Chip appears in Once Upon a Time, where Mrs. Potts tells him bedtime stories of classic Disney tales. In the Disney Hollywood Studios show Beauty and the Beast live on stage, Chip makes an appearance in the live show, living a similar role to his movie appearance. At Tokyo Disney Resort, Chip also plays a starring role in the Tokyo Disneyland show Once Upon a Time alongside Mrs. Potts. Concept art suggests that Chip is set to appear in Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast in Fantasyland. A cup modeled after Chip appears in Ariel's collection in Mermaid Lagoon. At Shanghai Disneyland, Chip can be seen alongside his mother during Belle and Beast scenes in Voyage to the Crystal Grotto. He's also featured as part of Belle's wall carving display inside of Enchanted Storybook Castle. The last character is Mrs. Potts. At Disneyland, Mrs. Potts makes a cameo in Tarzan's treehouse at the Disneyland Park, which notably references her appearance in the 1999 animated feature film. Mrs. Potts also appears in Beauty and the Beast live on stage at Disney's Hollywood Studios, serving the same role as she did in the movie. In Fantasmic, a clip of Mrs. Potts briefly appears in Disney's Hollywood Studios version of the show during the bubble montage sequence. During the Flower and Garden Festival at Epcot, she has her own topiary. At Tokyo Disney Resort, Mrs. Potts also serves as a narrator to the show Once Upon a Time in Tokyo Disneyland, telling Chip various bedtime stories that take the form of various Disney sequences. At Shanghai Disneyland, Mrs. Potts appears as part of Belle and Beast display and Voyage to the Crystal Grotto, where she is seen sprouting water. She is also featured as part of Belle's wall carving display inside of Enchanted Storybook Castle. And on the Disney Cruise Line, in the Disney Dream Cruise Show Believe, she assists Lumiere in his job to help Dr. Greenway believe in dreams. She also appears as an animatronic in Disney Dreams and Enchanted Classic. And there you have it, all the facts about Beauty and the Beast. If you like this video, please hit that like button and leave a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe. And I hope you have a zippity-doo-dah day. Goodbye.